What is good, everybody? This is your guy Manny, and this is the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. I'm going to run my intro and I'm going to get into today's big news. So I was minding my business and I seen something pop up in one of my sleeper leagues. They was talking about Jahan Dotson going to the Eagles, and the Commanders are sending a fifth and Jahan Dotson for a third. And I was thinking to myself, like, what? Jahan Dotson to the Eagles? I went on to Twitter and I confirmed the news through Adam Schefter. So the full trade is the Commanders send a fifth round pick and Jahan Dotson. The Eagles send a third and two seventh round picks. Now, that third round pick is going to be the better of the Philadelphia Eagles pick. So they have two thirds, one from Miami and then their own. So whichever of the third that is the highest, the Commanders get that. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles have four seventh round picks, and the Commanders get the two worst of those seventh round picks. So it's pretty much a pick swap to get rid of a player like Jahan Dotson. I was going to come on here and I was going to talk about the nature of the Commanders wide receiving core, kind of where things were. I was listening to Rio the other day, and he was talking about how Dyami Brown is, stepping up, and this could be a potential breakout year for Dyami Brown. And then Olamide Zaccheaus is the slot receiver right now. And I was thinking to myself, well, where does that leave Jahan Dotson? Then you hear, rumblings about him having an attitude in camp, him not playing well. Also hear he's dealing with family issues. So regardless of what it is, outside of Jahan Dotson's rookie season, where he did miss some games, he did have 7 touchdowns. Okay. This current season, he had, I believe it was 4 touchdowns. I'm going to confirm those numbers in a minute, but he just did not look good. It was just not a good showing from Jahan Dotson. And for this news to drop, that means that for him to go to the Eagles and to him to go for a third, and then you're doing like a pick swap type thing, it just shows you what the league thinks of Jahan Dotson. Now, could he have been a guy who could have had a breakout year? Yes. But from what I'm hearing, he just did not fit in with what Jaden Daniels does. What kind of receiver is Jahan Dotson? He didn't fit in with Sam Howell. I really don't know what kind of receiver he is. He did play very well with Carson Wentz, so maybe he goes and plays with another system, or maybe a quarterback like Carson Wentz. For some reason, Carson Wentz and Jahan Dotson had a good rapport. Sam Howell and whoever else that they brought in, ever since Carson Wentz, that connection hasn't been there. Is it that Jahan Dotson is a bad player? I don't think so. I just think that it's between the Commanders valuing this guy, or Commanders fans valuing this guy way more than what he's worth. Is he a good player? Yes. Can he be a really good player? I also believe he can be a really good player. But at the end of the day, this is what you're going to get. Every year about 500 yards or so. Every year last year about 4 touchdowns. The year before that, 7 touchdowns. So he can score, but as your number 2 receiver, as a first-round pick, he has not lived up to that hype. Not only that, I am the kind of person that tries to support whoever that the Commanders draft and, trying to do that kind of thing, right? But at the end of the day, he has not panned out. He has not worked out. He struggled last year mightily, and he ran a lot of routes and just did not produce. So that's kind of who Jahan Dotson has been. Now, him going to the Eagles, I do think that he has a chance to play better. I'm not going to say he goes to the Eagles and all of his issues are fixed, all the problems are fixed. But when you have an A.J. Brown and you have a Devonta Smith, there's a possibility he could produce those same kinds of numbers, which is around 500 yards and then around 4 touchdowns. So that's probably what you're going to get out of Jahan Dotson. The Commanders possibly felt that Dyami Brown is that guy already that's going to get you around 500 yards and 4 touchdowns this season. So why not get rid of a diminishing asset? They kind of felt like, you know what, this guy might not be able to produce. Let's get rid of this guy now that he has some kind of value. Then you trade him or you get rid of him and you gain nothing back in return. So once again, Jahan Dotson heads to the Eagles. I wish him well. I hope he balls out, except for the 2 games that he plays the Commanders. I don't want to see him doing anything versus my Commanders, but I wish him well. He's a good kid. this kind of goes back to Ron Rivera being the worst coach / GM I've ever seen in my life. We had a chance to draft Chris Olave. We traded back. Whether we get in return at the time, we were excited. We got Sam Howell, we got Brian Robinson Jr., we got Cole Turner, and then we got Jahan Dotson. As of today, Sam Howell is gone. Jahan Dotson is gone. Cole Turner has been a bust so far. And then you have Brian Robinson Jr. entering his third year, and the next year being his fourth year. I can see the Commanders possibly moving on just because you don't pay the RB position. But the fans do love Brian Robinson Jr. Who knows? Brian Robinson Jr. can break out this year into one of the top backs or into like a 1,200-yard back. Then you might have to consider, hey, we might want to rock with this guy longer term. But, yeah, that trade back was terrible. Sometimes you get like the quantity. Nah, sometimes it's just get that quality player. We could have gotten Jock instead of Jamin Davis. We could have gotten Christian Gonzalez instead of Emmanuel Forbes. We could have gotten Chris Olave instead of Jahan Dotson. And here we are today, still looking for help for Terry, still looking for a QB for Terry. But the good news is Jaden Daniels seems to be a QB that could work out with Terry McLaurin. That could be our next franchise QB. But on the flip side, does this mean that the Commanders are getting Brandon Ayuk? I don't know. I'm not going to get my hopes up. But at the end of the day, the 49ers are going to need substantial draft capital as well as the Commanders paying Ayuk. So maybe a second and a fourth or a second and something else gets it done to bring in Ayuk and then pay him what he deserves. I think that him and Terry will make a good tandem, and it will make Jaden Daniels happy, and then it'll also accelerate the progress of what you can kind of get out of Jaden Daniels. There's been talks that maybe De'Ami Brown has a Nico Collins type season, light, not 1,200, 1,300 yards. We're talking about much less. But, yeah, this wide receiving core, man, today does not look as great as it did yesterday or the day before. You're talking about Terry McLaurin, and then you have Luke McCaffrey, you have Zacchaeus, you have De'Ami Brown, you have a bunch of Jags, a bunch of guys. So you guys let me know what you guys think in the comment section. What did you guys think of this trade? Did the Commanders win the trade? Did they lose the trade? Do you like the trade? And what do you see the Commanders doing in terms of pass catchers, predominantly the wide receivers, moving forward? Please comment, please like, and please share. And I'm going to catch you guys on that next video. I'm out. Peace.